Can DCF interview your children alone at school in Massachusetts? DCF can and will interview your children alone in Massachusetts. It's not the best process or procedure or protocol, but in certain circumstances, DCF feels compelled to do that. At least that's what they tell me when I ask them, why do you interview the child alone? They tell me that, well, they couldn't interview them at home because there's domestic violence. I don't know where that comes into play, but DCF will tell you that. They'll also tell you where there's suspicion of a child being at substantial risk of harm, and that there was nowhere else they could interview them where they felt they could interview them properly. That's just garbage. That's just DCF's way of saying that they want to avoid Attorney Seaver or the parents or both. Because think about this. If DCF's on the up and up, and you want to interview children, then why don't you record it? So that everybody can hear the recording. And why don't they record it? They don't want you to hear them asking your child 20 times about, how often does your father beat up the mother? We know the father beats up the mother. Then you say, well, how do I know those types of questions are asked? I recently had a family where they had a 15-year-old daughter. She was all everything. All honor rolls, all athletic, all this, all that. She was on the student council. She ran for this, ran for that. She did everything at the school. And she loved the school, absolutely loved the school. And she had received all types of awards and all types of prestigious things. And her mother and father had a disagreement one night. And DCF went to the school and interviewed this girl for well over an hour. Now, I don't know what you can interview anybody about for over 10 or 15 minutes when it comes to child abuse and neglect, but that's just me. But this girl was so upset and so distraught that she came home just a bucket of tears and lost complete faith in the principal, vice principal, and all her teachers and everybody else, because nobody saved her from DCF. And she went in the next day and she told her principal how the principal had let her down by allowing these people, DCF, to interview her for over an hour alone and berated her over and over and over again. And the principal and the vice principal and anyone at the school took no action, thought it was okay. How can this be? Now, our most important asset is our children. We allow the government to go in and not tell anybody, bring them into a room and interview them as long as they want and fire questions at them and berate them. There's something wrong. And very rarely do I believe that any child should be interrogated. And that's what they did. Our children are sent to school to be educated, not interrogated. And we as the adults in society are supposed to protect our children. And they're all our children. Not just some, every single one of us, our children. And we allow the government to do this to our children? God help us. Shame on us. So what's the solution? Every parent should have a letter called a Hatch letter sent to the school that children are to be interviewed never, and that they are to be taken out of class only for educational purposes or for emergency medical care. Other than that, kids should not be interviewed at school. Now, what happens to these kids after they're interviewed? What's the fallout? This girl goes back to her class sobbing, and all her classmates are asking, what happened? What happened? What happened? And as soon as she tells one, it goes through the school like fire that her family's involved with DCF, which is supposed to be confidential, and it's not. And about how she was berated for over an hour. And what message does that send to the rest of the school and to the school officials? I'll tell you the message it says. We don't care about our kids. That's what it says. Damn you, DCF, when you do the wrong thing. Damn you to go into schools and interrogate kids. Damn you to go in and put a kid in a room by themselves and ask them question after question after question after question. That is outrageous. And they browbeat them till they get the answer they want. And who's to argue with the DCF report later? And DCF goes in with a mission to get the story, the narrative they want. And they do it without the parents being present or any other adult. That's criminal. I'm sorry. That is absolutely criminal. Now I'm going to say another thing that's as true as the day is long. The United States Constitution says we the people, not we the adults. Children have U.S. constitutional rights, but tell that to DCF, or the principals, or the vice principal, or the guidance council, or the teachers that say, oh, we protect our kids. Like hell you do. Like hell you do. And if our children are the most important asset we all have, why don't we treat them as such? Why don't we guide them? Why don't we protect them? Why don't we go out of our way to make a situation that is as uncomfortable as can be, where they have to talk about their family, maybe dirty laundry that happens at home, to complete strangers called a social worker from DCF. And we don't protect these kids. And then they go home, you wonder why the kids are all screwed up afterwards. And I want to come full circle now. With that girl who was all everything, she went back and she chewed a new rear end out of that principal. And good for her. They have the chutzpah, the backbone, the vertebrae, to call out that principal who didn't protect her and didn't watch over her and help her as a minor. And any other principal out there that think it's okay to allow some kid to go into a room with a DCF social worker and be berated for over an hour and ask questions. That's just so wrong. And if we have to explain this to anybody, shame on all of you, don't get it. It's wrong.